What's up, YouTube? Josh, how was your game on Thursday?
It was really fun.
Good.
They lost, but
Yeah, classic.
it was great. No, Brewers are good. So obviously, but it was also just weird, very bad defensive plays.
Yeah.
I don't know the players well enough, but I could even tell them like this is not how to do defense. It was like 4-3. So, and they were throwing a new pitcher out there. I forget his name. He's first year out, so he
Okay.
threw a home run off of his second pitch. So he was going to be one of those nights. But it was, I mean, it's a great atmosphere. I've uploaded like half of my B-roll. I don't even know. Some of it was like random stuff. I put it in a separate folder.
Oh, okay, sweet. I'll have to check that out.
It was very far away, so I turned on.
Nice.
So it's like half of it's up. I need to figure out how to get the other half up.
Yeah,
just like random, just little shots and stuff. I was far enough away. It may not be anything good, but at the very least, there's some videos of like, even if you want to do filler for other things on TikTok.
No, that's awesome. Thanks for doing that.
Of course. Right. And then how were the Reds coming off of their?
The Reds
all
won.
We were talking about.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they did.
I mean, to be fair, they were going off of their 15 point margin of victory over the Cubs.
Yeah.
On Thursday. That's all we were talking about.
Yep. That's pretty crazy.
Did I see somewhere they have like this since like in the past month or like in the past maybe 3 weeks, they have like the 5th or 6th best record.
Yeah, it's great. It's like at one point it was like 3rd best over like the last 20 games. So they've really turned it on. I don't think they're going to be good, but they're not going to lose.
Not at all.
Maybe they won't lose 100 games, so that's encouraging, I guess. But.
You know what? That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I agree. Not losing 100 games, pretty cool.
Pretty neat.
Okay, Logan, did that program seem to work at all?
Yes, I have it. It looks like I just clicked generate the record button on it, so it looks like it's going to town here in the background.
Beautiful.
Oh, sweet.
All those fun little lines.
Yes, it looks like it's working.
Yep. And if not, again, we've got the stream as a backup. So again, hello YouTube.
Okay.
Hi YouTube.
We'll introduce Logan here, as you can tell, YouTube watchers, not Johnny.
Not Johnny.
Yeah. Logan, we'll just kind of walk through. I mean, we were basically planning on doing this with Johnny, but we'll just kind of walk through the NBA Finals preview. And obviously, last week we talked about the Mavs, Warriors, and not a lot happened. Just obviously the Golden State got one more game and wrapped it up. Exactly. But obviously, most of the conversation is about Game 7 from last night. And then, especially as you, a Boston fan, just kind of getting your perspective on it, how you think the finals are going to go. And we'll just kind of chat about that if that works for you.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
Sweet. Well, I'll get us started. Usually we just kind of go around and I'll introduce you and we just talk about our week and then we eventually find ourselves in a sports conversation. That's usually how it goes. So
we segue somehow.
Yeah, that's right. All right. I will get us started. I am recording. Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron, and I'm happy to be joined by Josh, who's back this week, and we have a very special guest. Johnny is not able to make it, but filling in at the last moment, the call to the bullpen, Logan Stringfield is here. Logan, thanks so much for joining the show. It's great to have you here.
Absolutely, Aaron. Always a pleasure.
Well, and we're especially excited to talk to you tonight because you are a Boston Celtics fan, and the big news of the past couple days is that the Celtics overcame the Miami Heat in 7 games, and they're headed to the NBA Finals. But first, Josh, what's up, man? How was your week?
I've had a great week. Thank you for asking.
Oh, good.
I went to a Cardinals game.
Yeah.
And they lost.
Oh.
It was fantastic. No, it was a fun game. It's a great atmosphere. It was like a random Thursday night, but it was beautiful out, and stadium was like 3/4 full. So
yeah,
you can't beat that.
Awesome.
Goldschmidt hit a nice home run in the bottom of the 7th, and they did fireworks and all that fun stuff. I did not see it because I had to take a bathroom break.
Oh, no.
And I hear the cheer, and they're obviously playing the radio feed. And I just really could go all the way. I'm like, of course it will. It's going to. There are the cheers. This is fantastic. I love this. I love this so much.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad the overall experience was good though.
Overall was fantastic.
Well, good.
Except for the 30 seconds that you want to be there.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah, classic. My week was also good. I also made my way to a major league ballpark. I went to Cincinnati on Saturday. They won, which was exciting. They've actually kind of turned it around the last couple of weeks. They might still technically be the worst baseball team by record, but they're at least working to not be that. And yeah, great game, great weather. Honestly, a very full crowd as well. The Reds have been dead last in attendance in the National League, so maybe that Saturday crowd will help that trend in the right direction. But yeah, Major League Baseball, that was good. Logan, how's your week, man? Again, thanks for filling in.
Yeah.
what baseball game did you go to?
I did not go to a baseball game.
That's okay. Johnny did not
okay.
either, so you're doing a really 1 for 1
That's
so
fair.
far on filling in for Johnny.
So far, great. I'll make a mock draft next.
That's perfect.
But no, so it's okay, Aaron. I can relate. My Nationals are not much better, so
yeah.
it's not looking great over there either. But that's a great week. And I'm up now, celebrating Memorial Day with the fiance.
Nice.
So no, it's been really, really good. Studying for board exams, so not nearly as fun as baseball games, but still really good. And of course, anytime the Celtics make it to the finals, it's a really good week.
Yeah, of course. And let's jump into that. I guess first, maybe just a bit of background on you, because again, you're coming at this from a Boston Celtics fan perspective. How did you grow up a Celtics fan? Like, how did that process all work out?
I know it's like how is he a Denver Broncos, Boston Celtics, Gamecock fan? It doesn't really make sense. But no, so my uncle growing up he's from Boston. And so he was a diehard Celtics fan. And so when I was he gave me a signed, like an autographed Larry Bird framed poster and picture. And so as a kid, that's just what I grew up loving the Celtics and he gave me all the books and Bob Cousy is one of his favorite players. And so just and then when I was in middle school, all my friends loved LeBron and the Heat. I couldn't stand it, so I wanted to cheer for their rival, which just to have to be Paul Pierce and the Celtics in the East. So growing up, I grew up a Boston fan, loved it. I mean, I was there when Jeff Green was our best player for 3 years.
Yep.
As Terry Rozier or way before, no, Jason Terry. It was good times there. So no, I've been a Celtics fan ever since I can remember. But yeah, this team has been a lot of fun. And I mean, even you look past the past 3 years, a lot of people love Brad Stevens. I think he's a great coach. Never thought he was a great NBA coach. He deserves a lot of the credit for the acquisitions and moves he made. You look at Robert Williams' contract, you look at Smart's contract. And you also look at Danny Ainge too. The work that Danny did in the years developing this team with the draft picks and that he did.
Yep.
It's been a lot of fun. But the thing with Boston, it's all been on potential. Everyone talks about Boston's potential. You talked about Tatum and Brown's potential. You talk about the size. You talk about the wings. But it has never produced. It's never been a physical thing that we could celebrate. You can talk about potential all you want, but you can't actually celebrate or high-five someone because you have nice potential. So it's nice to have a physical achievement to celebrate now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think there's so much credit that should go to Boston, as you said, the front office, because and just the players, it would be easy at this point for a guy like Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or you name it, Marcus Smart, to have bailed at this point. And that's traditionally what you see. I mean, with all respect to all the other teams, this is kind of, if you're Boston, this attitude of this is the way you're supposed to do it, is you do it through the draft, you do it through your own organization, you bring your players along, you help them get better, and that's exactly what Boston does. They are quite honestly the opposite of a super team, and in a lot of ways I feel like it's really refreshing. And Miami was similar. I shouldn't say similar because obviously Jimmy Butler was not originally from there, but Miami did it organically somewhat, but Boston really did that. And now you're seeing them compete up against this Golden State Warriors team that ended up, as we predicted last week, finishing up the gentleman's sweep of the Dallas Mavericks. Josh, I'm sorry, but we did see this kind of coming last week, so it happened.
One thing, and Luka was interviewed shortly after, and he's like, guys, this is the first, obviously, Western Conference Finals I've been in, period. And he's like, you know what? There's a lot that I need to work on. And it's like, I'm happy that we were to get here. It's like, there was a lot of stuff I just didn't realize how, I was that bad at. And so I think he has the things that we were talking about last week and the week before, I think he's starting to see that too. I think he's seeing kind of the stats of when he has to put up those numbers, their team ends up losing when he's not giving the ball away like he should. I think he's seeing that as well. And so I'm hopeful for a really good offseason. This is not obviously we knew that the Warriors were going to be that much better of a team.
Yep.
I mean, to do it to any team in 5 games is like a show of strength. And so we knew that was probably the eventual outcome. But I think offseason looks really good. Provided they can get him a few more weapons. I think this is not a hang your head in sorrow type of thing. This was we didn't quite expect to be here this early, and we have a little bit of extra learning experience now. So they seem to have a great attitude going forward. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah. All right, so let's run it back a little bit. Again, we're doing this thing where we record on a Monday, and it'll be a couple days after that you hear this episode. But for us, last night was Game 7 between the Boston Celtics and Miami. And Logan, I can't imagine the nerves going into a Game 7. But Josh, it's an interesting point because, Josh, you brought up Luka, and sometimes when he scores 40-plus in the playoffs, usually, statistically, the Mavericks don't do very well. Now in Game 7, you have Jason Tatum, who I would argue, Logan, and this is an interesting conversation, kind of disappeared in the third quarter and then reappeared in the fourth when they needed him, made some plays. But it's interesting. I feel like Luka gets criticized for not passing enough, and then sometimes Jason Tatum gets criticized for almost deflecting or delegating too much. And I'm curious kind of what your take on that is, if we're being unfair to one or both of those players, and just kind of your overall thoughts on Game 7.
Yeah, no. To answer that question, I think Luka is asked to do a lot more than Tatum is.
That's
I
fair.
think Tatum
Yes.
has got a supporting cast that
Yep.
is significantly stronger than what Luka has,
Yep.
and so there's a magnifying glass on Luka in these scenarios that I don't think Tatum has to succumb to or be placed under, because when you got a guy like Jaylen Brown, who, let's be honest, is averaging, I think, 2 points less per game this playoff with very similar percentages. Now, Tatum does a lot more facilitating than Brown, but Tatum also is able to shoulder and lean on other guys. Tatum is, and I think this is something Ime has worked on with him this year, is to get himself out of slumps. What we would see him do in his first few years in the league, we would see him try to shoot himself out of slumps. We would see him take contested shots. We would see him pull up. We would see him run ISO possessions on the top of the key with no movement. What we see a lot of now is we see him passing to kind of get himself out of slumps. And this is something that's a new development this year, where he will drive more and pass more. And while that doesn't really show up on the stat sheet as much, I think for him mentally, it gets him in a better spot to create some plays, to facilitate other offense. It maybe makes, if they are doubling him or if they're switching on him, it's going to relax that defense. And so it kind of looks like he's disappeared, but I think he just contributes in other ways. I'm not defending him when he has bad games. I just think that's how he has played around that this year.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think the point of the fact that he's got some more people to rely on is obvious. And that's the reason why Boston is in this position. At the end of the day, Tatum and Brown were overall terrific. But how about Al Horford last night? Like, some of the defensive plays he made, and yes, everyone's looking at that Jimmy Butler 3 at the end of the game, and they're saying, oh, what a bad shot. I'm like, well, maybe, but did you see what Al Horford was doing to any shot taken inside the paint? Like, I don't blame Jimmy Butler. Number one, he was going for the lead, and number two, I mean, Al Horford was amazing last night, and I need to eat some of my words because I was big time critical of Horford. Thought that the Celtics, I didn't understand why they brought him back. Didn't think that was going to work, and boy, was I wrong about him. And Logan, you know this about the Celtics overall because I had Brooklyn winning the first round series. So
I couldn't help but comment on that when I saw that. But
yeah, well, and you're right about that.
I'll say this about Al. Boston loves Al. It was, and I think Al has. There are a lot of things that Al can do for a basketball team that is not fully utilized. When he was with the 76ers, it wasn't with the Thunder, and that's totally a Brad Stevens thing. Brad Stevens, when he coached Al, knew what Al brought, and he got him back, and he knew what he wanted from Al, because Al's the kind of guy that's going to look significantly less valuable in another style offense. But with Boston, we need a big who can help space the floor, who can help pass, but who's also, Al's at a point in his career where he was almost defined by never having that finals appearance. So this is kind of that feel-good story to have a guy like Al, who's 36, I think he's 36.
Yeah, I think so.
Making his first finals appearance. Great guy. The teammates love him. He's always been a great mentor to Jaylen and Jason. And the defense, I think I saw a stat. I think it was Jimmy Butler when Al Horford was the primary defender, was I think 27%.
Wow.
This series.
Wow.
And so people say, I saw that, you watch that play. My eye hit the floor when Jimmy pulls up from 3 there, because it seemed like Boston was doing everything in our way to make sure Miami could pull to win that game.
Yeah.
We're really good at doing that.
Yep.
I think Jason Brown said it after the game. I think he said, I think Jalen, on the lines, he said something like, "We make it harder. I don't know why we do that, but we all do that to ourselves." But Al is just that guy who's always steady. You can't blame Jimmy for taking that shot.
No.
His career would tell you it was a bad shot. But he was 4 for 7 from 3 that night. It was a very open.
And he was 4 of 8 from game 6.
Win.
Like that man was the Miami Heat offense. Like Max Strus had his moments, but that was it. And Bam had an okay game, but that was it. It was Jimmy.
This may be an unpopular opinion. I really feel like Bam is overpaid for today's NBA. What he provides, he does, and this is where Miami really, and Bam had some games where he put some points on the board. The one game 3, where he really went off, we didn't have Robert Williams, and Robert Williams is kind of our big person on Bam. Bam does not space the floor. He cannot shoot. I think every time Bam took a jumper with 11, 12 feet, I was like, thank you. Like, I was happy when Bam was shooting.
Yeah.
Because he cannot do that. And in today's NBA, if you don't have a big that can shoot or space the floor, then I feel like every team is just going to... I mean, it's what we did to the Bucks. I think when Brook Lopez was on, I think he ended up with like a plus-minus of like -22. No offense to Brook Lopez. It's just the way that the game is played, especially in the playoffs, is you isolate that big man, you pull him out, and then you've got to switch on defense, and it creates a mismatch from the beginning. So I just don't know I think Miami is looking at that $156 million contract and maybe doubting that a little bit, because did he play like the second best player in this series? I would say no.
Yeah, that's a hard one because, there's so much. Bam shows you so much potential, right? He shows you the game 3. He shows you what he's capable of, and even you go back to the bubble run where the Miami Heat were in the NBA Finals, and what the things that he did there. And on one hand, you look at some of those performances and say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense why Miami would want to give him that kind of money. And then he has other games where, he's a liability almost on offense. And there was even some games where he was like in the single digits and rebounding. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's just a mental thing where you just need to mentally overcome some struggles that you have and still do what you're supposed to do on the boards. And look, I think overall, I would say he was a good defender. But yeah, I think the Heat are definitely leaving with some questions. I think Duncan Robinson, I don't know if there was an injury there or if he had just lost his confidence, or really, I think the actual answer is that he was just not able to keep up defensively in this series where these two defenses clashing was insane. And Tyler Hero wasn't healthy. He got injured in game 3, tried to go in game 7, but that clearly didn't work. Played just a little bit in the second quarter, and that was it. And injuries were a big part of this series too. But give credit to the Celtics. I do think they were the better team. At times, Miami, I would argue, was the tougher team. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said that quote, and I thought, yeah, that's accurate. And a lot of times, the tougher team does win a game 7, but that was not the case. Boston rose to that challenge on the road and took game 7. Logan, I got to ask real quick before we move on and kind of preview the NBA Finals. I have yet to see an angle where Max Strus is out of bounds. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to bring it up, but
yeah, no, and see, and I've watched that several times. Also, that's the first call I'm aware of that they've overturned that long afterwards.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
And to preface that, officiating's been horrible on both sides.
Yeah.
There's a million calls I could point out that were terrible on both sides. I have also, from as biased of a vision that I can say this from, I have never seen that heel touch the ground. To me, it's a perception thing, and yes, it looks like it's over, but I don't know if his heel is ever planted above that line. It looks to me like it's hovering over it. Now, again, we didn't make that call. I'm not going to really complain about it. But I can't say that it looked clear or definite. And honestly, I really did not think it was well advertised on TV that had happened. I just had noticed the score had changed. I was like, I thought we were up by 8, now we're up by 11.
Yeah.
I'm thankful, but I don't know why.
Yeah, that was Josh. Am I crazy? Like, I feel like it didn't touch either, and I feel like people are making a big deal
No.
about it, right? Because all the Boston
Yeah.
fans are like, oh, it didn't matter. We won by 4, so it was like we were, win by 1. I'm like, okay, no, that's not how this works. Get out
That's
of
not
here.
quite how it works.
Get out. Like,
because
if you're,
I'm reading interviews of all the players right now, and they're
Yeah.
saying, yeah, they look up and they're, they thought they were down by, 8, and they're now down by 11.
Yeah.
And for them, and I was curious, like, for you guys, I can't imagine this is a situation you guys would have faced when you played. But as a player, what does that do to you mentally? Like when you're already in the specific, because that's what I've heard is there is this, you have such almost a defeatist mindset versus like, because I've heard people also say, fun tip for podcasting, sometimes words don't come out. And sometimes those words that do come out are bad.
and that's why we edit.
And that's why we do new takes.
Also, sorry, my phone is still dead.
Ooh.
So I usually
Your
have a
phone's still
camera up,
dead?
but it is not working. So my
Oh,
apologies.
no,
I was
you're
gonna say,
good.
I'm still just seeing the 3 little
Yeah,
circles
I know.
there.
It's this phone does not want to charge tonight. I'll have to figure out what's going on with it. But
No, my phone's all the way over there. Oh well. Okay, here we go.
yep.
And so that's the thing I was talking about is when you have what you think is maybe a 13-point game and it ends up becoming a 16-point game.
Right.
Like, what does that do mentally for you? Obviously, it doesn't just turn it into a 1-point game at the end.
Yeah.
But do you think that was enough? Again, while still giving credit to the Celtics for putting in the hard work, I don't think they ever trailed in the game. So like that's significant.
Yeah, that is really significant. That's a good point.
And so, and obviously it's not unusual for a team to trail until the last 2 minutes, but like, what does that do for a team? Is this a bigger deal than maybe we're talking about or is it less of a big deal since it happened like 4 minutes after?
I think it's probably as big of a deal as people are making it. Maybe not to the extent that Miami's taking it like, oh, like we had to beat Boston
sure.
and the refs. And like Logan, you said it, the refs were not great on either side. I mean, Kyle Lowry and Marcus Smart are just flinging their bodies all over the place, and they're getting calls. By the way, NBA, if you want to see that behavior go away, then stop rewarding that kind of play with fouls.
Have to call it. Yeah.
Anyways, that being said, a couple thoughts on the Strus thing. Josh, I think it's a good point because nothing was going right for the Heat, right? They couldn't seem to buy a three-pointer. Jimmy Butler was doing all he could, played all 48 minutes just to keep Miami within reach of potentially taking the lead, in which they never did. But I will say this, guys, I hope the NBA had different camera angles than was available to the public. Because if not, I understand referees are not perfect. You're going to get things wrong. And sometimes you're going to get things egregiously wrong. And I think of like the Rams or the Saints pass interference call. Like that was horrible, right? But at least to the referee's credit, and I'm not giving him any credit, at least it was a moment and the moment passed and there was nothing you could do about it. At some point, the replay referees looked at this over and over for several minutes and still came up with this decision, not only to say that he was out of bounds, which we still have yet to see, but the fact that they overturned the call that was made on the court of a made three, oh, I don't love that. Again, did it cost Miami the series? No, but that's not a great look for the NBA and potentially puts kind of a bow on what has been some rough officiating. And partly it's just the way the game's played. There's, players just looking for that contact, trying to go to the free throw line as often as possible. And I think it's something the NBA needs to kind of look at in the offseason and see, what can we do? Because not only are you rewarding players that are just flopping all over the place, but your pace of play kind of sucks because there's a whistle every 30 seconds. So that's also a factor in all of this as well. But with all that being said, Game 7 behind us, Game 1 in front of us, the NBA Finals, Golden State, Boston. Logan, what's the feeling as both a Celtics fan and just kind of a sports fan? What are you looking forward to in this series? What are your thoughts, predictions? What do you got?
Yeah, I think the Boston fans are relieved. You look at that Game 6,
Sure.
the letdown, and then you look at how the Game 7 ended. I think we're relieved we got to this point. You look at a fan base and a team in January, 11th place in the Eastern Conference. And so if you would have told us in January we're going to win the East, we would have all thought you were crazy. So this is a team that's playing its best basketball right now. It's a team that lives defensively. It's what we base everything on. It's what we have. Our game plan has been developed around. I think you look at Golden State. I don't think this is a controversial thing to say. The best team offensively in the NBA, and it's not very close.
Yep.
In a challenge. I'll say this though too. Since the Steve Kerr era in Golden State, the Boston Celtics are the only team with a winning record against the Warriors. It dates back to 2015, 2016. Celtics are the only team with the winning record against them. I think we match up well. I think there's a lot of teams that cannot space out bigger guards that can defend well, who could defend the perimeter, because Golden State's got 4 guys that can shoot 40% from 3 any given night at least. And so you've got to be able to space out well. I think we do that well. I think guys like Grant Williams and Derek White give us a great shot. One of those 2 guys, for Boston to have a chance, Robert Williams is going to have to be healthy. Number 1.
Yep.
He played 11 minutes last night. He did not look like himself, and it is a big liability whenever he's not there. Daniel Tice is not it. It's just
sorry, bud. Yeah, you're
one
right.
day we'll figure that out. But, and so Robert Williams has got to be healthy, and Derek White or Grant Williams, one of those 2 guys is going to have a game where they take over, because you look at Golden State, and I look at the guys that concern me. Honestly, I don't know if you look at what Luka's done, you look at Jimmy's done this playoffs. I don't know if I've seen Steph at that level this series. I don't think he's had to been at it. But I don't know if Steph is at the level of those guys. But I think Golden State is a lot deeper than what we give them credit for. You look at Poole, and you look at those guys, and I feel like those guys are guys that can have a night. And so I think it's going to be the pace of play is really going to dictate this thing. If Golden State gets out fast, because Boston is we want to slow things down. We want to slow things down. We want to create physical plays on defense. We do a lot better not in transition. When we're in transition, our defense never gets set. Our offense is a lot slower. We create turnovers. You saw countless times. You saw Brown and Tatum force a lot of passes that lead to sloppy turnovers. And when we get in that mindset, we get too fast, and we really do better slow. Golden State thrives on a faster offense. So I think you're going to see us trying to slow the pace down. I think you're going to see Golden State trying to come out probably with a bit of a smaller lineup, try and space things out, and try and see if they can get some quick shots to drop.
Yeah.
Game 1 it's going to be. I think it's going to be a crazy environment, especially in, the Warriors. And so, I think you're going to see a Boston team that this is the first time in over 3 weeks that Boston will have had a rest.
Yeah. Yes.
So hopefully a little fresher.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that was a point I was going to make is you could break this down a million different ways, but I'm genuinely interested in, Golden State, by the time game 1, which I believe is on Thursday, happens, they'll basically have a full week of rest, where Boston is coming off of back-to-back game 7s. And, credit them for getting to this point, but you wonder if trying to chase Curry around feels different after, 14 games in 4 weeks or whatever the math comes out to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that was the fear we had. I mean, after Dallas went to Game 7 with the Jazz.
Yep.
I'm sorry, not Jazz. Phoenix.
Yep.
And we're like, well, Golden State's already had 3 or 4 extra days, and now do they need that 3 or 4 extra days? They don't.
No.
But it still very much factors in when you drop, the first 3 games of your series, and so I think that's my only fear is. You don't, I'm almost, a little salty towards Dallas for giving Golden State that much time to rest and recuperate, because we know that they weren't, not that they weren't working hard, but that game 4 and 5 weren't taxing in the way that game 6 and 7 were for Boston.
You're right. The Boston-Miami series was just a slugfest. I mean, that was crazy. Yeah.
So that's your only thing, but that's not going to, again, that's not going to, that shouldn't be an excuse, but it might be a factor to think about.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree. Logan, I'm interested. You kind of brought this up. I'm interested in Boston's ability to switch 1 through 5 on this Golden State team, because we've all seen it for years. This is finals appearance 6, I think, or like four out of the last 6 years, I think, for Golden State. Either way, lots of NBA Finals experience. We've all seen this offense and how well they can run with the big three. You had Jordan Poole in there. You had Andrew Wiggins, who's just come out of nowhere. And I shouldn't say nowhere. He was the first pick overall, but you know what I mean. His career he's showed limited success until he reached Golden State, and now he's breaking out. So I'm curious how well Boston's defense, they've leaned on their defense to get to this point. It's been really, really good. But this offense, as you guys pointed out, is a whole different animal. And I think that's the thing I'm paying attention to the most. How will Boston truly be able to slow down this Golden State team? Will they have the legs to do that? Again, considering they've played 14 games in about 4 or 5 weeks, that's a lot to ask. But it's the finals, so you kind of just throw everything out the window, and everything you've got in the tank is going into these next few games, and it should be great. Logan, any last thoughts before we kind of wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, no, Aaron, there's two schools of thought that you can have kind of going into this. When you think about this series, there's two ways to think about it. You can think about it like Golden State is the fresher, rested team, healthier team, and should have a lot of advantage going into this series because they have not been challenged the same way. And you know, you could say that Golden State's just that much better than all their opponents, and that's why it shows. And you can talk about Boston. We talk about this Miami series being just mentally and physically straining. Look at the Milwaukee series and look at the Brooklyn series. Those were slugfest. Yeah. And I know we swept the Nets, but you know you don't play Kevin Durant and Kyrie lightly. those are all hard games. Boston has really drug its way to get to this point.
Yeah,
you could say Boston's beat down, tired, worn down, and maybe they just don't have enough in the tank. I'm thinking about it like this. Boston has been up against the best. They've beaten Kevin Durant. They've beaten Kyrie Irving. They've beaten Giannis. They've beaten Jimmy. They know how to do it. They've been up against it. They've been tested. They're prepared. I don't know if Golden State's been challenged yet. And so you think of it kind of like getting punched in the mouth sometime. I don't know if Golden State has really been challenged and have been actually taken to that next level mentally and physically, and maybe Boston could be more aggressive because it's what we've had to do to get to this point, and maybe that can take Golden State a little bit by surprise. A guy like Marcus Smart is not going to take an off night.
Yeah.
And so I really think that Boston's going to come out, with physical defense, and what you're saying is that will be the tale of this: is how well does Boston switch? And I was talking about it earlier. Robert Williams is not a guy we're going to space out. He's not a guy we're going to have on the perimeter. So when we have someone like does Golden State run some 5 outs on us? I don't know. I really I don't think Ime can really be like under. I think he's been kind of really just underlooked this whole time and really not given a lot of credit. He's a first-year head coach in the finals.
Yep, absolutely.
And so I trust Ime to make a lot of good adjustments defensively and offensively. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Boston has been a really good away team. We won 3 of the 4 games in Miami that past series. Yeah. And so I think we're comfortable in it. I think they're tested, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think at this point, it's what if you're not a Celtics or Warriors fan, I think you can be really happy with this finals matchup, a league best offense and a league best defense, and see which one wins. In football, much more physical sport, you'd probably say defense, but in basketball, we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, it should be fun. Should be a lot of fun. Well, Logan, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Appreciate you literally last minute call to the bullpen, jumping in, giving us some great Boston Celtics coverage. Really appreciate it. So, thanks for being here. Best of luck to your team. What's your final prediction? Who's winning and in how many games?
Yeah, I'm gonna take I'm gonna take the Celtics in 7.
Okay, nice. All right.
So I've looked back and forth on 6 and 7. I think Golden State's gonna have some nights where Curry's gonna score 40, Clay can score 40. I think it's gonna be nice. I think it will go to 7, but I'm gonna take Boston in 7.
I love it. I will say, if Boston pulls this off, the players that you listed, KD, Kyrie, Giannis, Jimmy, and then you add Steph and Clay and all these guys, I mean, you're talking about potentially, just from the star perspective of their opponents, one of the greatest final runs of all time. And I am fully okay saying that, knowing that the Bucks didn't have Chris Middleton, but that's just the reality. So it's been an amazing run. The Celtics have proven me wrong every step of the way. I want to say Warriors in 6. I think that's probably what I'm going with. And I may be wrong because I've been wrong at every step of the way with this Boston team. But we'll see. All right, Logan, we appreciate it. We'll talk again sometime, especially if the Celtics end up pulling this thing off. So.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Hey, anytime, Aaron, Josh. It's great talking to you guys.
Yep, appreciate it. All right, we will be
Yeah,
right back. And when we come back, you know what time it is. It's time for our picks of the week and what we're
Yeah, it
following.
is.
We'll be right back. Yeah, Logan, thanks so much. Oh, Logan's gone.
Oh.
Logan
Bye.
didn't realize that was part of the podcast, but that's okay.
That's all right.
YouTube.
YouTube, hi.
Yeah. Let me switch some things here.
Gotta figure out what I'm following. I had
I'll be honest. By the way, YouTube, thanks for. I know there's a couple people jumping in the chat. Jaden says hello. Jaden, hello. Thanks for being here.
Jaden, hi.
Appreciate it. Yeah, if you're hanging out with us, appreciate you being here. Let us know who you're taking in the NBA Finals. We want to know. I'm saying Warriors in 6.
I'll go Warriors 7.
Okay.
But that's on the stream, not when we actually do our picks. So that's gut feeling right now, given their. But I also, man, I'm looking at the head-to-head. Celtics again match up well with them. So
it's
know.
really you're right. I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. All right. There's finally, now that Logan's gone, the my other camera's finally working. So, anyways.
Oh, weird. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Sorry, I was. All right. While you're getting set up here, I'm going to text Logan. Just say thanks again.
Oh yes, absolutely. I'm going to figure out. I have obviously oh wait, maybe it was on Twitter. I have 3 or 4 different ways of figuring out what I'm following, and I need to stop. I need to have one.
Let me throw on some music for you guys hanging out on chat. Sorry, there's just me and Josh sitting in silence.
Yeah, go like chill.
There we go.
Oh, this could be so much fun. No. That's interesting, but it's not substantial. Let's look here.
Texting Logan to see if I can get his audio file.
Oh, yes. Also, that'd be nice. Oh. Oh, no, that's one. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, this one could be fun.
Yeah, so for picks, Josh, do you want to do French Open?
Yeah, let's do French Open because I have no clue.
Okay. Johnny put Nadal. I'm also going to pick Nadal because he's my favorite. But you can do it. You can honestly, if you want to pick Nadal, you can do it. I don't know if he's still in it. I know we're like halfway through this one, so it's a little different than what we normally do.
Oh, got you.
But let's see. It ends June 5th, so we're like getting. I think we're in the quarterfinals. I want to say. I haven't been paying too close attention, but we do get. I think we get Djokovic and versus Nadal.
Oh, that'd
in
be
the
fun.
quarterfinals, which is crazy. So actually, Nadal may not be that good of a pick, but I'm doing it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It does not look like.
Against Djokovic.
Oh, this is different results. I'm not seeing Federer.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, you could just be. You could go directly against us and pick.
I could, but see, that's usually when it's
When it goes
bad.
wrong.
Where I'm like, I'm going to do it just to counter you guys.
Right.
Historically, that's when I do. That's when I'm worst.
Yeah, sure. What time do you need to get out of here, by the way? Just
probably like maybe. Hold on, was it fifth quarter till? Yeah, maybe just like 5 or 10 minutes. Nothing crazy.
okay. Well, we can kind of speed through this.
Sounds good. I was gonna say we won't have. Trying to find.
Yeah, I should probably find something I'm following. I've got like a sports thing. It's kind of lame, but it can. Be good enough for
Mine's not.
episode.
Yeah, mine's not as funny, but
That's okay.
FIFA's ending. FIFA and EA are no longer doing.
Oh yeah,
partnership, so
that's a good one. Yeah.
They got to rename it.
Yep.
I could talk about racing, but no one cares. I care.
You can F1. Are you talking about
More just like Monaco this week.
Actually, if you want to talk about that because I've got something to talk about as far as F1 goes.
Okay, perfect.
If you're down, that works.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to do that. Okay.
All right.
So you know what? Screw it. I like Djokovic because I can't always pronounce his name. So.
I think it's Djokovic.
Djokovic. Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure. Chat, you guys can correct me, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Please correct us with a corrected audio. please put that in the
Yeah. Send us a voice
those cool
memo.
like little send us a voice memo.
Yeah.
That cool like phonetic typing that you have to do, like
Yeah.
for certain things. What they send for like sportscasters and all that. Yeah, do that.
All right, I'll get us started again.
Let me make sure I'm still recording. Yep, I'm good.
All right, cool. All right, and welcome back again. Huge thank you to Logan for filling in. Appreciate his thoughts on this upcoming NBA Finals. I think it's going to be really exciting. And Josh, you were saying you've got. I said the Warriors in 6. I've got Golden State. What is your pick for the NBA Finals?
Right now, my gut goes Warriors in 7.
Okay.
I really like this matchup. I think this is going to be a good matchup. I was just looking at their head-to-head, and there is a lot to look forward to for this series. As far as like, this is not honestly the worst team for the Celtics to face.
Yeah.
There is such an insane level of depth on that Warriors roster. Like, because
you're right.
anyone could pop off at any night. Like, Klay doesn't need to be a standout star. Steph doesn't need to be a standout star at all. Like, they can do quote unquote nothing for the series and they can still win handily. And so it's not going to be some sort of blowout by any stretch of the imagination. But I think and also the rest that they've had they've had up to like 4 or 5 extra games off compared to the Celtics. And so there's just a little bit less body wear on them. And so I think that near the end of this series, I think that's going to start playing a bigger factor. So I don't think it's going to be, they're not laying down, but I'm taking Warriors in 7.
Okay. Yeah. I like the pick. I agree. I mean, injuries that was a big deal. And again, we talked about it in that Boston-Miami series. Marcus Smart was banged up. You had Robert Williams banged up. You even had like Derek White missing a game or two. So we'll see if they're able to, get that, I don't know, back to tank. Well, I don't know what they use in the NBA, but they probably need a back to tank.
Who knows?
Anyways, that's a foreshadow for you people that are interested in what we're following. But before we do that, Josh, it is time for our picks of the week.
Yes,
Last
it
week,
is.
we picked the SEC baseball tournament. Johnny and I went with the favorites, Tennessee. They did, in fact, wrap up the SEC tournament championship, and Johnny and I both got points. So, Josh, you are still in the lead in our scoreboard going for eternity. Well, 1 week short of eternity. We established that last week. So that's our new thing we'll say. So you're up 33 points for you, sir. And I've got 22. That'd be bad. I've got 32. Johnny also has 32. And this week we are picking the French Open. We are just finishing the 4th round as we're recording. So I believe we're in the quarterfinals now. And we have a tremendous matchup between Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic. Just so turns out that our predicted winners of this tournament are playing each other in the quarterfinals. And that's because Johnny and I have Nadal. Josh, you're going head to head against us.
I am taking Djokovic because every time I say his name, I'm only 90% certain if it's going to come out correctly. And you know what? That's kind of fun. I like that danger.
Yeah, you never know.
I like that intrigue.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, there you go. So whoever wins that match will direct some points our way. We'll see who ends up on the right end of things. Josh, it could be extending your lead. We could be destined for another 3-way tie again. We will see next week. Real quick, by the way, New Orleans Breakers update. We guaranteed a win last week, and gosh, we were almost wrong. It would have been really embarrassing to lose to Michigan. Instead, it was a 20-16 win from the New Orleans Breakers in overtime. Josh, I believe it was the first overtime game in the USFL, and they came out on top. And there was some field goal thing that happened.
Yeah, so I'm forgetting his name, and honestly, he plays for Michigan, so I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
But he has a wife and kids, I'm sure, and has a family who loves him. That's not anyone on this podcast. So, but last week when they were playing, he made a then record 56-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Yesterday, this most recent game against New Orleans, going into halftime, dropped a 60-yard field goal.
Dang.
Like it was nothing. He had another 3 or 4 yards on it if he needed it. Absolutely insane. Too bad it did pretty much nothing. I think now Michigan's 1-6.
Yeah, they're 1-6. The Breakers are 5-2, baby. Let's go.
5-2. So, and this is what you have to be excited. Legally, you have to be excited about this with us.
Yes, correct. As a listener, you are contractually obligated. We have if you did not hear the terms and conditions, they were stated on an earlier episode. It's up to you to find them
very clearly. We've deleted it since, but they were there.
Yeah, they were there. That's right. All right, so that's your Breakers update. I honestly don't even know who they're playing next week, but just was
whoever they're going to be.
Whoever they're, it doesn't matter. It's not because I'm not paying attention. It's because it doesn't matter. They're going to win. So Breakers all the way.
We've only been wrong twice this season.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Far. Like that's how good they are.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, it is time for what we're following. Johnny is not here, but he did say that he is following the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and that is a good thing to follow. Josh, did you watch it at all?
I'm so sorry. I was looking at the thing I was following. What did you say?
I was saying Johnny said Obi-Wan Kenobi is the thing he's following, and I asked if you had watched it.
Oh, so funny story. Stranger Things season 4 also came out.
Yes, at the same time. Yes.
And I have also not watched that because tomorrow or yesterday, if you're listening to this Wednesday, Downton Abbey goes off Netflix. And so I am currently burning through as many episodes of Downton Abbey as I possibly can.
Respect.
Hopefully trying to get out of season 3. That way I only have 2 seasons to like mooch off with someone else.
Yeah.
But I've been in a frenzy of trying to finish out Downton Abbey. Man, season 3, things happen. If you know, you know. But man, events have transpired.
Yeah, I don't know really anything about it, but I just know everyone dies. So this is probably
everyone dies.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're so British about it too.
Yeah, well, I did watch the first 2 episodes of Kenobi, and I'm not going to spoil it because that would be lame, and I'm not going to do that. But I will say the last part of episode 2 is pretty crazy, and I'm excited for the new episodes that are coming out. I think, but there's 6 total. And yeah, cannot wait. So good pick, John, and what he's following. Josh, I'm following something interesting about my baseball team, the Cincinnati Reds. Starting tomorrow, they are actually traveling to Boston, so some interleague play against the Boston Red Sox. And it brings up an interesting point, question, whatever you want to call it, because I believe this is Cincinnati's first trip to Fenway since 2014. It has been, and someone can fact check me. I may not be completely right, but I'm close enough. It has been a while. That's the point I'm trying to make. And it's interesting because, yeah, you don't play interleague games very often. And when you do, sometimes it's, in the case of Cincinnati, they're playing Cleveland every year. And that's going to change starting, I believe, next year. They're switching up some of the scheduling. Previously, you played 19 games against each of your division opponents. That's going to be lowered a little bit to give teams the opportunity to play every single team every single year. There's some more traditional folks in baseball that don't like this because they think it makes the schedule too much like the NBA and the NHL, where you're just kind of playing everyone. They like the exclusivity of playing mostly in your division and only seeing some of these teams across the division a handful of times, like we're seeing here. Again, first time Reds have been to Fenway since 2014. I fall more in the camp that I'm for this. I think it's kind of weird to be in the same professional league and not travel to a team for 8 years. It's kind of the same conversation we had along the lines of divisions in college football. It's weird to me that Alabama hasn't played, I don't know the exact example. I think Florida, they just played Florida. So maybe that's a bad example, but let's just say like Kentucky.
A team that's not Florida.
Yeah, a team that's not Florida. Like, basically, there's a situation where Alabama, there's a team in the SEC East who has only played Alabama like once or twice in the last 8 years. That seems weird to me. You're in the same conference. In this case, for Major League Baseball, you're in the same league. Makes sense that you would play all the teams. So I'm for this. Does it mean that your division being difficult is less of a factor? Maybe, because you're playing, I think, like 14 games against each division opponent instead of 19. Something like that. It's just kind of something interesting to note. I'm mostly for this because, again, I feel like it's weird. The Reds have not been to Fenway since 2014. Good to see them there in a historic ballpark. But just kind of sort of news, sort of my reaction to it. But that's happening. That's another baseball change coming down the way here in the next little bit.
Nice. Johnny's not here. Hey, guys, racing's a sport. So Monaco happened on Sunday.
Yeah, it did.
Oh man, and that's one of my most nostalgic tracks. I remember growing up. Obviously, I've not been to Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
I am from Ohio, not really close to Monaco.
Yeah.
If you weren't aware, I got a globe now
Yeah.
that tells me just how far away Monaco is. But of course, Johnny's not here. I can make any geography claim I want. He can't.
Yeah.
He can't correct
He
me.
can't stop it.
No one in chat. No one in chat correct me.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much just south of Monaco, essentially. But anyway, Monaco, his historied race. This has been going on since like the 1920s. Yeah, since 1929. This is one of the big boys. However, in recent years, and this was a discussion going into it, thankfully it was a little bit more exciting this most recent time, with some lead changes and a little bit of weather making things exciting. Generally speaking, Monaco has actually become one of the less exciting races to watch, which has been really sad for the sport because it's one of the most prestigious. If you've seen Monaco, it is raced in very tight, narrow streets that have just been there since 1929. I believe the current track layout has stayed the same since the mid to late 50s, early 60s, something along those lines. Well, back then, the F1 cars were about half the size they were today. Today, there's a minimum and maximum width. No maximum length, but most of the cars are upwards, I believe, they're pushing 19 feet. And a few feet wide, definitely a few feet wider than they used to be back in the 60s. With visibility, last year there was only one position change.
Wow.
In the entire race. It was some guy and it happened in the first lap. And there were no position changes in the race. And so thankfully, there was a few lead changes yesterday. Yesterday being Sunday. Although it's a podcast, time doesn't matter.
Right.
But that'll be interesting to see going forward. Monaco is a hard track to do the classic overtaking in that you want to see. We were just talking about how good F1 has been doing with at least reaching out to its American audience. However, when you're bringing in a new American audience, it might be hard to convince them that a storied, prestigious race in a very, very rich little part of Europe with very few lead changes is something worth watching. The diehards are going to watch it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Had a great time. But that might be a conversation, especially when they're building Circuit of the Americas. Circuit of the Americas has fantastic places for overtaking, lots of exciting things can happen on the track. I've not seen the Vegas layout yet, but I know Miami has also some really good positions for that. And so I am interested to see. What I will be following is how the ratings do over the next few years if what has been happening in Monaco continues to happen. Thankfully, Sunday was a little bit more exciting. That may not be that's not the normal. So I'm curious to see what happens as it progresses.
Yeah, that's an interesting question and a follow-up to what you're talking about with F1. So one of our listeners, a big F1 fan,
oh, nice.
Checked in, was kind of jumping into discussion that we had about F1 and that Miami race you talked about. And we talked about how they were making it more accessible on TV and how it was coming, like the race was literally happening in America. And he brought up a good point that we did not talk about. And he said that the ticket to watch the race in Miami was like upwards of $1,000 just to see the race. And now part of that is the novelty of such a thing that it's happening in Miami, but he's right in the fact that that is something that F1 will probably need to address. That yes, you're getting it on television and in front of people's eyes and probably on their phones. That's all great. But the next step is, also you do need to make it as accessible as possible. Now, again, it's a little different. It's not baseball. You don't have 162 of these things. They're unique events, and that's part of what you can kind of yeah, exactly. This is kind of why you can drum up some of the interest for an event because there's not a ton of them. But that is something, and I'm curious what the Vegas race, as you said, we'll see what the track looks like. It sounds like they're going to race basically around the strip. I've heard that because it's potentially like close quarters, it may not be as fast as people are accustomed to with F1. I don't know enough about it to really speculate. But I do
That's
wonder
fair.
at the
Well,
same
Monaco's
time.
not known as being like
Yeah.
incredibly fast, so at the very
Right.
least, there's some precedence.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
Yeah, that'd be interesting though.
Yeah, so we'll see, and
Yeah,
we'll see
that's-
what the cost of that Vegas ticket is. I'm interested in
Yeah.
that, and again, a lot of this stuff, these are kind of like brand new novelty events in a sport that, as we talked about, is on the rise in the U.S. And so maybe as we kind of get more familiar with it, as we have more and more of these events, we'll start to see those ticket prices slightly decline. But at this point, I know you and I cannot drop $1,000 just to go see a sporting event. So we're definitely
Not quite.
priced out of the market. And I would say 99% of people probably are as well. So we'll see what happens with that if F1 is able to make that product a little bit more accessible. But for now, it seems like overall, people are getting into it, are enjoying it, and it's certainly growing in the U.S. So yeah, Josh, thanks for sharing. That's a good thing to follow.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well,
Sports.
I think that wraps us up. You're probably looking at the time of this episode like, man, they did the opposite of what they usually do. Usually we have like another hour to go, but we're trying to be kind to you guys. So no, but I do appreciate you guys listening. It means a lot. Again, I just want to say thank you to all of the support that we've had. I just want to say, by the way, I probably should have said this in the open, but shout out to you if you are a TikTok follower of ours, coming all the way over to Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to this podcast to check us out. We the last few TikTok videos we've done have got some views. So appreciate you guys supporting over there. Appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. We are again setting a record month for listens, for downloads. So it means a lot. Appreciate it so much. Thanks for your support. We're going to continue bringing some more sports content to you. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and TikTok and all that fun stuff. If you enjoy sports and want to hear more about it, and for some reason want to hear more of us. So anyways, Josh, I think that wraps us up. So we'll be back next week. Johnny should be back. We'll have a couple of NBA Finals games under our belts. We'll break it all down. It's coming up next week. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one. YouTube, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate it. What episode is this? 60? What did I say? 5? 4?
What did you say?
65.
65. Beautiful.
All right, YouTube, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Saw a couple of people in here. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. And also, either probably Wednesday, we'll have a couple like full-length videos for you guys. We got more shorts and all that fun stuff coming your way. So if you enjoy that, make sure you're subscribed. And I guess I'll do the YouTube thing and say hit that bell, because that will also let you know when we're live, when we've got videos coming out. So if you want to support us in that way, that'd be a huge help. So thanks again, especially if you're watching on replay of this stream too. It means a lot. Go ahead and give that stream a thumbs up down below. That helps this channel out as well. And until next week, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.